And you know, as powerful as human storytelling and physical gatherings are, there's another force, quite invisible one, that is powering and shaping this entire ecosystem, and that is algorithms. Up next is a session that examines one of the most transformative forces reshaping the travel and hospitality ecosystem today. When algorithms decide, is AI now the real power broker in travel and hospitality? Explores how artificial intelligence, data platforms, and digital distribution are influencing pricing, discovery, demand generation, and decision making across the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's welcome our esteemed panelists onto the stage. A very warm welcome to all the panelists, and over to you, Mr. Ravish, to draw the best out of this conversation.
So if the algorithm had this amazing capacity to bring everyone right in, that would be great, but that's for another few years. So good evening, everyone. Just a little storytelling. When I was revenue management head at Oberoi Hotels in 1998, and I had this chance meeting with Mr. Oberoi, the chairman. He said, listen, and the GDS had just started coming into the country. Oberoi Hotels and Taj Hotels, my counterpart at Taj, were the real only ones who were beginning to understand the GDS and its prowess. And Mr. Oberoi's question and statement to me was that it was my responsibility to understand this black box and unravel the mystery and make it user-centric, make hoteliers, our general managers, our revenue managers understand the business. 3 decades later, it almost appears that we're looking at this black box again. It appears powerful. It appears power-hungry in terms of all that it could do. It could sweep away from the business from those who are not attentive. So with my distinguished panel on stage, and each one of them represents a very, very different specialization, I think it is really important to understand the nuances that you are already looking at in terms of AI in your own organization, and what is it that you have really for the world at large. The fact that we are looking at this black box and the fact that it appears to be powerful, what we really need to understand, and therefore I'm dividing this panel into making it extremely simplistic for our attendees here, largely hoteliers, to say that where is AI today, okay? Is it really a hype, or is it something that we need to seize the moment of? What appears to be the early practical wins? Importantly, I think for hotel practitioners who will, in days of tomorrow, own AI, it is going to be a part of distribution. Will it or not? So are the hotels companies already figuring it out as to who will really own AI in this space? And we had this session from MMT, talking about the content. Who will be responsible of the content? And finally, is AI, as our subject line said, becoming the new power broker in the industry? So I'm going to turn to you, Bhanu, first. Now, for those, of course, RateGain is a name that's, we in hospitality, tourism are really familiar with. Bhanu, kudos to the fact that you have taken truly, and as a fellow Indian, one is proud of the fact that you've taken a product out in the global space with international and hotel companies. So my question to you is that when you look at both the international and India, and you are one person who can probably draw the comparison and tell us that are most hotels AI ready? Or are we trying to pour into legacy systems, outdated systems, and therefore there is this big hurdle to get into the AI space even before we start talking AI?
Yeah. So first off, I want to start off by addressing the question on the hype on AI. Is it a hype or is it for real? So if you asked me that question 3 months ago, I would have said, yeah, this is, I actually used to go into conferences and say that this is going to change everything, the way we work, the way we operate, and it is a revolution, and I indeed feel that way. But over the last sort of few weeks, etc., I think there is a little bit of a hype that's going into it where, they're talking about the possibilities of AI, especially for, given the fact that we are in software, they're saying software is dead, AI is going to be able to replace software companies and SaaS, etc. I think that's just taking it too far. I think in the short term, we may be overestimating what it can do. And I am a firm believer, having been in technology space, that it's not just about producing the innovation in the technology. The big struggle is usually around the adoption. So going back to your question around, are we ready as an industry? The answer is no. And actually, it's not because of outdated systems, legacy systems. I think the problem in our industry is mindset, right? I think I would urge everyone in the room and in the industry to become a little bit more bold, be more aggressive. I think this industry is the most risk-averse industry. So if you ask me, forget AI. If you ask me today, what is the adoption of what is available, I would say it's 10%. I mean, think about the experience that we have today at a hotel versus any consumer apps that you experience, right? I mean, you for instance, you go on a Zomato and you order some food. They will recommend to you, do you want a dessert? Do you want an appetizer side with it? I mean, think about that, relay that to an hotel experience when you're trying to book a room. Yeah. Why don't I get that option from the hotel? I mean, it's still a struggle to get to the hotel. The experience after you book is so filled with friction, and technology can make it frictionless today. So to answer your question, do I feel the industry is ready? I think it's more of a mindset issue. I think AI can play a very big role in solving a lot of the industry problems, especially with labor, right? We have a lot of attrition problems, and you also talked about in your opening on what is like the low-hanging fruit. I think, marketing, a lot of the back office jobs, it can be completely automated by AI. I think in the previous session, you heard from Make My Trip, how Gen AI can be used to personalize the content. I mean, we're doing this at RateGain. We have a lot of data. We're able to personalize the content, create dynamic ads, on the fly, depending on what the segment is, be able to personalize and speak to the customer, look at the engagement, and be able to really do precision-based targeting on the audiences, and thus convert more and generate a much higher return on ad spend. The other area that we see is a lot with sort of contact center type operations, things at the hotel where it can be completely automated. We've launched Viva, which is an AI agent, which can pretty much handle all inbound queries that a hotel receives over the phone, be able to make reservations, do ancillary, upsell, cross-sell. And then when the guest is at the hotel, do a lot of in-stay communication with the guest. I mean, we've seen ancillary revenues becoming pretty big. We've seen like almost upliftment of almost 30% month over month on ancillary revenue. Yearly, we've seen something around 300% upliftment in ancillary revenue as a result of engagement using AI, by having this personalized view of the guest, knowing what their likes and dislikes are. And a lot of these things that hotels have available, like late checkout, early check-ins, upgrades, spa facilities, etc., people want to buy them if you are able to intelligently curate and communicate those offers to the guest, and AI can enable those. So I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity. There is some low-hanging fruit that we can capitalize on very, very quickly. And over the long term, the future that at RateGain we are building is, we believe there will be a library of agents which will pretty much take over each of these roles of revenue management, distribution, marketing, So they will come in as semi-autonomous and then fully autonomous. So it's a long way, down in the future.
So just speaking on what you're saying, content, and come to you, Santosh, and you probably as an OTA distribution, isn't that, for any of our platform to be content rich, where AI is going to be successful only basis, what we are able to do. You have been such a successful international OTA, and also of the great inroads that you made into India. Given that what we saw in the generative AI conversation, okay, from a purely listed hotel distribution capability that you have currently, 5 years, 3 years, do you think conversation-led searches and successes for a hotel are going to become order of the day? Is it something that's happening in Booking.com's corner offices? Would you like to just tell as to what do you see happening, and if you can give us some use cases for that?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think it's important to set the context a little bit, right, in terms of how travel planning and discovery is evolving today. Because when we think about it, in the olden days, which was not too far ago, we used to do fixed keyword-based searches, right, by destinations and dates. And now it's evolving to more natural language search. So as an example, let's say I wanted to come to Goa. Previously, I would start by putting in separate searches into Google, right? It would be things to do in Goa, it would be flights Goa, hotels Goa, whatever. Now it is, I'm going to be in Goa next month with 3 other couples. We want to avoid crowds. We are looking for a villa with a private pool and butler service, right? So it's a very specific search, natural language based. So AI goes back, scans our entire inventory, comes back with a very personalized tailored list of recommendations for the user, right? And essentially what that means if you're a hotelier today is you have 2 types of data. You have structured data and you have unstructured data. Structured data is all of the data that's in your property page, it's in your listing, it's probably on your web page, it's what you put on Booking.com, right? And then you have all the unstructured data, which is reviews, everything to do around the packages or the rooms that you're selling, etc. It's the answering the part of the search which is based around, like in the example that I shared, which is I want to avoid crowds, right? That's unstructured data. So AI is really good at parsing all of that information across structured and unstructured data and really coming up with a very coherent answer to it, right? And what we're seeing as an OTA, look, I mean, there are questions, right? What's the role of the intermediary in all of this going forward? And the way we see it is these questions have always existed. Even now, today, travelers have choices. They can go direct and book with the hotel if they want. Why do they come to us? They come to us because we are able to provide higher value and better service. And that will not change irrespective, right? The rate of technology might go up or go down. For us, the game is we've got to be always faster and better in terms of implementing AI or implementing any technology. And when we look at LLMs in general, when we look at travel in general, travel distribution, travel plumbing is extremely heavy tech, right? It's actually, when you start peeling the onion, it's a very complex distribution layer, right, behind travel. When you think of all the regulatory related information that exists, because when we are operating in 200 countries all over the world, we are providing hundreds of modes of payment to travelers, right? And when you think about the regulations that go around that, when you think about all of the fraud that exists today in the industry, I really doubt an LLM can come in and immediately take over from an OTA tomorrow, right? So I think and for us, it's really about trip disruption as well, to what Banu was saying earlier. We see on average today 8 to 9% of trips overall that travelers all over the world are taking with us are disrupted in some way or the other, right? Either your flight is delayed, or there's some problem at your hotel, or your car didn't arrive on time to pick you up, or whatever, right? And we're really working on utilizing AI to solve that particular trip disruption issue in a very heavy way. Right? So I think that's really the name of the game. And finally, I would say pricing, right? Pricing does not get a lot of consideration, but let's not forget, ultimately, the traveler always wants the best price wherever they go, right? And I don't think today LLMs are able to solve for that. Because we have armies of people on the ground whose only job it is to work with hotels and implement products and get better pricing for consumers.
I'll stay with you for just a minute more to pick up on your use case of the crowd, okay? Do you think many a time there could be a possibility that AI hotel that is savvy in terms of technology and content, but may not really be, in terms of be the right search for the crowd, but gets its content right. So AI starts influencing, however, one that is really, really crowdless is not even coming on a search. Do you think Days of Tomorrow would require leaders like you to be also educating the hotels? Because the reality is that we as hoteliers are such laggards in technology. We have taken technology to what is comfortable to us. We haven't been participants in terms of technology-led companies and innovated. So do you think that to be a trouble ahead, even for the best of brands, if they're not really, really in sync with what is required to be done at the back end?
I mean, I think Ravish, I would answer it by saying, I'll tell you how we think about AI, right? AI adoption in general. For us, it's about, is it meeting a particular customer need or not, right? We don't just implement technology for the sake of implementing technology, yeah? There always has to be a critical customer need behind it. And our AI strategy is focused on two things. Number one, it's on the customer side, right? And when I say customer, for us, it's both the partner, which is the hotelier, or the airline, or the traveler. On the partner side, what we're doing is, I'll give you a couple of examples, is we are looking at smart messaging tools, right? So which is today, if you look at our extranet, or if you look at the messaging platform that we have, or through connectivity partners as well, right? Like, for example, a RateGain, et cetera. What we see is through the use of AI, we're able to essentially bring down a lot of the messaging time very heavily, okay, for the hotel, which is helping the traveler find what they're looking for in a very short period of time. So let's say you're coming here, you want to know, do they have any charging stations? Now, the traveler does not have to sift through pages and pages of data to be able to find that information, right? It's as simple as asking a question. The other thing is we're still bringing on a ton of supply on board, right? Especially in the alternative accommodation space. Helping new partners come in and onboard their listings, in a very effective manner. Register easily. AI is being used very heavily there. Okay. On the customer side, again, smart searches, right? We spoke about that a little bit, especially in terms of the trip planning and discovery. But I think more importantly, in terms of trip disruption, I think that's where the game changer is with AI, right? Because we really think removing friction is the biggest problem to solve, right? Because if we are sitting at 8 to 9% of trips being disrupted, you look at the manufacturing industry, they're looking at 6 Sigma levels, right, in terms of defects. Our defect levels are sitting as high as 8 or 9%, which is ridiculous, right? Like, tech needs to be able to solve for that.
Sure.
Right? So that's on the customer side. Now, the other side of AI strategy for us is internally. What are we doing to make every employee at Booking.com more efficient with AI, right? And what we are doing there is, obviously the most common use case is in engineering. We're using code gen tools. That's an easy one. I think everybody is doing that. But we're using it in HR. We're using it in finance. And I'll use a cricketing analogy because Kapil Paji is going to be here in an hour or so. It's a little bit like, if you look at umpiring, right? You have manual umpiring, 2 umpires on the field, and you have decision review system, DRS. AI, for me, is the DRS, right? Because our legal teams, as an example, will use AI to, now they don't need to scan through pages and pages of contracts. They will just look at Ultra Edge and the SNCO-meter, and they're able to get to the right call on a contract in a matter of minutes or hours.
Wow. So contract talking of HVS, Steve, question related, and how do you see in the futures, do you think for the line of work that your company specializes in, will lenders, do you think, will trust an AI-assisted feasibility study more than just a purely human projection, what happens now?
Absolutely not. So, shared experience here. About 2 years ago, when ChatGPT was becoming very popular, we had a company meeting, and there was panic with our people. They were concerned that their jobs would be replaced by AI, and I very, very plainly said, absolutely not. And the reason being is that hotels are very, very complicated going concerns. It's the most complicated form of real estate. As you know, you have daily leases, you have people coming from a variety of different places, you have changes of supply, you have changes in sources of demand, and all of these factors cannot be quantitatively calculated in AI. You need primary data to do that, and you need a lot of primary data to do that, and quite a lot of that data is actually not publicly available or even stored in a data store. You only get it from being in a market and understanding the market and talking to people and having these private conversations and learning about what companies are doing, what businesses are doing, what developers are doing, what sources of leisure demand are doing into the future. And there are so many variables, at least in our methodology in HVS, which is really the standard out there, there's too many inputs for that to be done by AI. And that's really the primary reason I don't think lenders would allow that.
Oh, so that's a great sigh of relief for all those consulting companies. I mean, so
We have job security at HVS, absolutely.
So human 1 point tick there. So we come to you now, Siddharth. And you probably have a different ideology to the work that you were sharing with me. You have advanced into AI, some practices there, some margins that could be better. Would you like to give some examples for the knowledge of the audience at large and just what your experience has been on an AI front?
Look, I think I would like to say that we operate with a little bit of a different mindset. I think a lot of the conversation about AI tends to swing in this spectrum of, on the one hand, dismissing it and trying to speculate about, oh, they won't be able to do A, B, C, and there's a long way to go. Versus on the other hand, sometimes being in a panic mode and saying, oh, our world is coming to an end. I feel it is probably better to operate with a sense of what I call calm paranoia. So you should be paranoid about everything that AI will be able to do, and at the same time, approach it with a sense of calm to say, okay, so how do we keep abreast with that? Because I don't think dismissing will help, and I don't think panicking helps with anything. That's how we have tried to approach it. So some of the things that we have done, and I think we talk a lot about our businesses being AI ready, but I don't think we talk enough about our organizations being AI ready. It's a little bit of, how people would have adopted or not adopted Microsoft Excel 30 years ago. Yeah. And today it seems like if any employee does not know how to use Excel, it seems like, you're not prepared for a regular job. I think AI should be treated that way. So what we have done is that we've really started using AI as a tool in everyone's hands. And what people have done with that is just absolutely astounding. I don't think as leaders, we think enough about, putting the fate of the company in people's hands and giving them the right tools, and they will find the answers. So for example, one of our people who's part of our sales team built a CRM, an AI-enabled CRM in-house, okay, with which, and I won't name names here, but we were using an off-the-shelf third-party CRM for our B2B sales, which we have replaced now. And the way this works is that rather than, with CRMs, they always say that there is an adoption issue, sales team has to fill out a big form, and that's why they don't like it. So this guy built a CRM in which you give a voice update on the meeting that you just did. Wow. Or you just type a free text. Okay, I met ABC client, they're upset about pricing differences, a senior person needs to go meet them, and it will convert that into actionables and a future reminder for such a meeting, and will store along with the profile of that client. Our HR head herself built a performance management system entirely, which basically takes into account KRA scores. You give scores over there, you apply the promotion algorithm, you can see your own KRAs, you can see your team's KRAs. And so we were able to replace one of the HRMS modules that we were paying a lot of money for. Another employee in our operations team built a completely new version of our quality control app, which our ops people, our floating general managers use to go out on the ground and do quality audits, and combined that along with the analysis of reviews that we get from Booking.com, TripAdvisor, Make My Trip, applies the same AI on that to create issues, quality issues, which the hotel team needs to resolve on a live basis. And these are very few examples. There are some 30 workflows that we have automated using NA10, which has led to fewer price breakages, alerts getting acted upon very quickly. None of this was done by an AI expert. None of this was done by a chief AI officer. And certainly none of this was done by me. It was done because we put the tools in the hands of people and we started giving them the right encouragement, the right incentives, the right recognition for them to build tools with it. And they started doing magic.
Great stuff. So realize that I've got...
By the way, sorry,
Yeah,
if I may
please.
very quickly add, I know in a lot of conferences and discussions like this, if I was sitting in the audience, one of the questions will be a lot of noise. Where do I start?
Yeah.
I strongly recommend start using Lovable. Get a paid subscription. Please don't be conjuice with that. It'll more than pay off. Give paid Lovable credits to multiple members of your team, not just the tech team. They will do magic.
Wow, so that's a cue for everyone here. Now, common, we've just had about 2 minutes. So these two questions are common to all of you. Steve, I'll start with you. If AI could run one department of the hotel, which one would it be?
I would say, unless you're running an ultra-luxury property, the concierge department.
Yeah, that's a great answer because I think, concierge could really be all-encompassing and could be very efficient. Santosh?
I would say sales, but for that, you can do that even today. You can just use Booking.com.
How about you?
I'd say the whole of revenue, the whole of front office.
Wow, so the whole of revenue would be a completely different syllabus that we need to create. Yeah, absolutely. I see the potential there. Bhanu, I'm sure that you're going to be thinking differently.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say could. It's already happening. So we are powering through AI concierge. We are powering the contact center. We are powering marketing. And we could be an alternative to Booking.com if you need that.
Well said. So, okay, so, and the last
You don't
one
go
here,
off
it
the
goes-
partners on the stage.
I could do that to you, Santosh, only you.
So I'll reverse the order, Bhanu. Now coming to you for, if AI in days of tomorrow, how would you treat it to be your assistant, your colleague, or your boss?
Assistant, colleague, or my boss. Yeah, the other than being my boss, I think I could live with the other two, yeah.
Yeah. So how about you?
I think it's a colleague right now. It will become an assistant in 6 months, 6 to 12 months.
Okay,
I think in about 5 years, it will be the boss.
superb. Okay. How about you, Santosh?
Nobody can replace my boss, which is my wife. So I would have to say the other two.
Okay, very good. Steve?
I would be delighted if it was my boss, but I'm going to say I think it's more of an assistant than anything else for me.
Okay. So well, on that note, thank you very much, fellow panelists. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience. I hope you have enjoyed our engagement.